Welcome back. Obviously, I'm not Glenn Banton, so I will be running the Voices of Victory podcast for today. The way this is going to work is we're going to have four people, people that you've already seen throughout the day, and we're going to have a brief 10-minute round robin where we start to talk about the Veterans Lounge and where we want it to go, right? You know, what your experience has been so far, especially considering everything that's happened. And first, before we get too deep into this, I want to give a shout out to 12 Fox Beer Company for this wonderful beer. And I highly recommend you guys patronize these people because they are awesome. And all veterans, if you bring in your unit patch, you get a free beer. I say again, if you bring in your unit patch, you get a free beer. So come support 12 Fox Beer Company. And let's pay it forward, guys, all right? So we're going to kick things off with our first 10 minutes. If I could have somebody roll the clock here and keep us on time, keep us honest, we're going to get started. So I'm sitting here with Mylo Villanueva.
Correct, yes.
And you are the owner, starter, operator of Mylo Obstacle Fitness.
Yes, sir.
And you joined our Veterans and Entrepreneurship panel. And first question is, you know, what's your experience been like at the Veterans Lounge today?
Amazing, actually. So I got to meet a wide range of veterans. A lot of them own businesses, and they're amazing entrepreneurs, come from all different types of fields. And what's amazing about that is that I'm able to hear kind of their struggles and what they were successful at. So I think as an entrepreneur, when you first start out, you're like, oh, I really suck at this area. It's probably just me. I can't believe I'm this bad. And then when you hear other people like, no, I struggle with that too. So that really helps you, boost your confidence, boost your energy. And you're like, wow, I'm not just the only one. And you just want to be able to continue with it. So,
and being able to probably hear that from other veterans specifically too, because I know that you guys had an opportunity to go over to 12 Fox and actually kind of hang out and talk a little bit and discuss kind of your pathways to get to this point. Not to celebrate or bring attention to any kind of a divide between veteran and citizen, but there is this camaraderie that I think exists within veterans that kind of I think helps make things a little better, a little easier.
Yes, well, I think the thing is that you always gain kind of like this brotherhood or sisterhood with adversity. So the more adversity you go through, the more together you guys become. And I teach us a lot about this in our team buildings that we do. And so, like, every single veteran has gone through some sort of boot camp. They've all gone through some sort of BS, some sort of hell that they had to go through. And so we all share that. And what's great about that is that every veteran here actually understands that, where it's really hard for a civilian to understand, like, what's it like to dig your own bed in the sand? What's it like when you're, dealing with multiple cultures all across in
Right.
one little place,
Right.
in one little barracks or whatnot, and having to just love everybody.
Right.
And that's what's amazing about veterans. And veterans are just, man, they're just go-getters, They go through so much adversity, and they know how to conquer that. And so being a business owner, especially, being in the Marine Corps, you think that, like, oh, I'm supposed to know everything, or I'm supposed to be able to handle every single situation. So when you feel kind of lacking in that area or certain area, whether it be financing or leadership or something like that, and you're like, crap, am I even adequate to even run a business? And then when you hear other veterans be like, dude, I sucked at this too. I sucked at financing. I sucked at this, sucked at that. And you're like, oh, thank God, like I thought I was the only one here. So I'm really glad that that's not the case. So.
Well, and also, one thing that I've been very humbled by is the alignment with the citizen go-getters, right? And that's another point of the Veterans Lounge is bridging that gap between veteran and citizen, because there are a lot of citizens that also share that same mindset, and as well as I do, it's rare when you can align with a citizen in the ways that we have been able to with a lot of people here that have helped actually run this thing. So. So one thing I want to ask is, what would you like to see in the Veterans Lounge moving forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, so far it's off to a great start. So I really love the fact that you have all different types of industries here. You know, you have real estate, you have venues, you have venture capitalists, mortgage, all that. I mean, I would love to see that continued. I also would love to see, yes, the civilian side coming into play with that. Civilians kind of, because I think there seems to be towards like a big divide. They're like, oh,
Right.
they're a veteran, oh, they
Right.
speak a different language, they're just like sort of like a robot, not human, and they realize like, hey, we're actually human too. We just had to go through a lot more crap.
Right.
But like, hey, we're still, you know, we want to be in society, given a purpose, and
Right.
so I think that's where civilians and veterans can come together is because we both want a purpose. We both want to serve a higher cause. Veterans are already into serving other people, and you know a lot of civilians are the same way. So I think that we could mutually find that agreement to where we're both serving people the best of our ability
Right.
and making sure that people could succeed the best way they can.
Because, helping the one helps the other.
Correct. 100%.
And it is the pay it forward mindset of ensuring that everything we do is not only ever benefiting one person, it's the everybody wins concept, right? And that's what we have to take initiative on that, especially in today's time when there's more of this me mentality and
Yes.
mindset.
Yes, all that me are dividing and being this political, that political,
Right.
or anything. And when it comes down to it, it's like we're all one nation. We all help each other out. We all want to see each other do well. You know, when one person does well, normally that person brings everyone else up.
Exactly.
And just being here, actually, just in the Veterans Lounge, we're all exchanging business cards. We're already making contacts and future endeavors. Like, hey, you want to help us out with this nonprofit?
Right.
You want us to help raise money? And I mean, all of us are going to share that information. We're helping each other out.
Right.
And so I that's one thing I really love about the military. I think a lot of civilians could relate to that when they're doing their own nonprofits.
Right.
Actually, a lot of nonprofits they're actually ran by civilians.
Right.
Then they're nonprofit for veterans. And so they already have that commonality, so they want to help as much as we do.
Oh, and they struggle a lot.
Yeah.
And that the nonprofit space is probably harder a lot of times than even being a for-profit business. Especially even as an entrepreneur, when you dive into nonprofit, they're constantly in a space where they need money to operate to support what they're trying to support.
Oh, even more so, they have to ask for money.
Right, exactly.
So they have to swallow that pride and
Right.
be like, okay, I need this money for a greater cause to be able to help more people.
Right.
So therefore, I got to swallow my pride and not be Mr. Know-It-All or
Right.
like I'm Mr. Moneybags. Or no, I actually got to ask for money.
It humbles
for that.
you real
yeah,
quick.
it does.
Yeah.
But I think that's the best cure. Everyone
Right.
needs to be humbled.
Yep.
And that's that's really hard, especially for veterans, because they're used to
Right.
you have all these alpha males, alpha females, all like
Right.
I'm the biggest and baddest, I'm the best branch, I'm the
Right.
best this, and then having to humble yourself to be able to own that business. But you got to know that, hey, I have this business to help multiple people, as much people as
Correct.
possible. So I really got to swallow that humble pie, and civilians understand that as well, and especially
Right.
run their nonprofits.
Exactly. And what I hope to see is more of the same. I want Veterans Lounge to exist on a nationwide level. Anybody can host it. It's not limited to Austin, Texas, or to what we're doing right now. It could be any size, any scale. As long as it's happening, as long as these conversations are being had, solutions are being found, and the divide is being bridged. Those are the elements that just have to happen. Otherwise, why are we doing this?
No, I totally agree. And the fact that you went into veterans, what are veterans all about? They're all about action. They don't
Right.
like sitting down and not taking action, being passive about it. They're like, dude, we got a mission to do. Let's get it done. Let's make it happen. So especially going in this format to where you're reaching out live, you're reaching out across multiple media streams. You're going to have multiple veterans out there that are like, hey, where can I hold a Veterans Lounge? How can I also attribute to that? Because what are veterans all about? Being about the bigger picture,
Right.
being about all of us all together, not just like my little city or my little unit or whatever.
Right.
It's all about being serving that bigger mission, that bigger cause.
Though I am still going to give you shit for being a Marine.
Most people hate on the better branches. I understand, man. So you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, well, it's not I didn't bring any crayons, and Dave, our other crayon eater's going to be here
man.
soon. He's coming up next soon, so
We use the crayons so you guys can read your maps. It's all good. We don't need those, but we'll give the crayons for you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
No, sir, man. Pleasure. Pleasure's always mine. Thank you so much.
And now we're going to move on to the next person. So we're going to bring on Dakota. We'll just go with Dakota right now. Come on, boy. Let's go with you, buddy. Let's go with you.
I'm here.
You're here. Cool.
Well,
Well,
Marine.
you're a Marine. Ah, another Marine. What are we doing
know.
here?
Bunch of winners.
Well, first off, real quick, let's recap kind of what you do and what you've been able to do.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thank you guys for putting this event on and getting us veteran entrepreneurs up here. It's a breath of fresh air being recognized as, people that normally don't be able to get, shown for their businesses. So thank you for this opportunity. But yeah, my name's Dakota Stewart, and my company is called LifePod Core. Core spelled like Marine Corps, C-O-R-P-S.
Of course.
And what we do is provide emergency management with innovative technologies that are built and delivered by U.S. veterans. So we call these life pods, we categorize them as 40-foot containers, and each of them hold a special piece of equipment. So we have a water pod, which uses, most people haven't heard of it before. It's called atmospheric water generation, and it's almost like a HVAC unit, and it sucks in air, ambient air, and creates water out of humidity through condensation. So we're able to drop off this water pod just about anywhere in the world and create fresh water, which is very important. If you guys haven't kept up,
There's
one out of 3 people in the world that does not have access to clean water.
Right.
We have a power pod, which is able to generate electricity through propane, natural gas, or biofuels. And that supports our water pod and our residential pod, which is our third life pod, which houses 6 people and has a full kitchenette and bathroom. All these are plug and play. They're durable, transportable, and they can be stacked. So,
Well, and I gotta say, when I first met you, it was the Army. What was it? The Army Innovations.
the Innovation Summit at
Yes,
Capital
right.
Factory.
Yeah, Army Innovation Summit, right. And I was blown away at what you've started and the way that can shake up, the emergency response industry
Yes.
that doesn't really exist because they're mostly government controlled, government
Yes.
owned, and which, we all know, especially as veterans, the amount of bureaucratic red tape that goes into that, right?
Yes.
And I guarantee you've turned some heads here today as well, connecting with other veterans and entrepreneurs and, other startups as well. And, trying to stay on task with the Veterans Lounge, what has today, done for you, or what has today meant for you, and what have you taken away from it?
I think the biggest thing is networking with fellow veterans that have similar visions, right? Visions on bettering our world or the lives of our veterans. And that's one of the things we do is at LifePod Core, we have an in-house training program that's designed for recently separated veterans, right? So when I got out of the Marines in 2013, didn't know where I wanted to work, where I wanted to go, and college wasn't for me at the time. So we've designed a trade school program through Austin Career Institute that trains veterans how to weld, do HVAC, and electrician to build life pods with us. It's fully supported by their post 9/11 GI Bill. So their school's paid for, they get their housing allowance, and while they're going to school, they get a paid position with us building life pods before they even graduate. So by the time they hit the workforce, they can hit that with their OJT, or they can stay with us if it's a good fit and continue to build life pods across the world.
It's amazing, and it is fulfilling that lack of purpose and mission-driven mindset that often goes away when we separate from the military, right?
Yes.
And because that is exactly what that is.
Yes.
That is purpose-driven, and it provides another service and a mission,
Yes.
for a greater good. I love it, and I think that. If you don't get if you don't get more support, from people seeing this and being exposed to this, then I don't know what's wrong with the world. This is something it's a sharp need. that I'm surprised it's taken this long to get addressed.
Totally agree. And I think that's some of the disconnect we see with a lot of veterans these days is hitting back in the civilian workforce is a loss of camaraderie and community, right? Where you don't feel that every day, like this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I'm part of, right? And then you get thrown back into the civilian workforce. You don't know where to go, how to pay your
Right.
bills, how to do this, that.
Right.
And so I think this lays a framework of transitioning into the civilian workforce into a purposeful, meaningful occupation that will pay your bills and you can contribute to something bigger than you.
Right.
But definitely agree with you,
Right,
Dallas.
and it gives you a reason to continue, or a reason to drive
Yes.
on, and
Yep.
that's
Continue learning.
exactly, and that's
Yeah.
what we all need, right?
Yep.
Where do what would you like to see, beyond this Veterans Lounge into the future?
I would like to see this applied everywhere in the world. We could rebuild communities in the Bahamas. We could rebuild communities in Puerto Rico where we saw, their U.S. territory for over a year and they didn't have access to clean water and power. And in my opinion, that's unacceptable.
Right.
And we have the resources, we have the manpower to do this, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't.
Right.
So my focus and my drive over the next couple years, and even with any meetings like I attend like this, is to gain awareness, gain exposure. And I think that's the most free thing that someone could have is the ability to create their own water, create their own electricity, create their own food in their own residence. And that's freedom to me.
No, exactly, and I appreciate it. I recognize it, and I'm really hoping that that you get the boost that you need, and then some.
Thank you.
As far as the Veterans Lounge and what we've done today, moving forward, like I've said earlier, we don't want to limit this to just Austin or just South by or what would have been South by. We want this to expand. What does that look like in your mind? Like seeing the Veterans Lounge expand?
I would love to help any way I can in helping you guys gain exposure. I think it's very important for any veteran or entrepreneur to participate in something like this because it's tough out there. Starting a business, learning this from the ground up, especially
Right.
if you don't have college experience. But organizations like yours, and Galvanize and some of the organizations we have in Austin, Capital Factory, these are resources to start a business, to raise capital, to hire people, to get the, training that you need to be a CEO and lead this. So I think it's vital for any entrepreneur that's wanting to start a business or make a change to be part of this
Right. Well, and
process.
it's about connectivity, right?
It is. That's it.
And
Networking.
right.
Yeah.
And having a Veterans Lounge specifically geared towards connecting, veterans in different fields, right? Today we covered entrepreneurship and entertainment and, immersive technology in the healing capacity, and there's no limit to what can be explored, right?
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, we want the success of veterans. We want the success of moving forward. So I appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dallas.
And I
Thank
look
you for
forward to
having us.
seeing. Yeah, I look forward to seeing how you grow for sure.
Thank you,
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you. Thank you, man.
Who's my next crayon eater? That would be Dave.
You keep mentioning that, and I had two things before I came on here. One was like this. First of all, this is great. It's awesome that with what we've been given and what y'all have done with it, it's been awesome. But the second is Dino convinced me to come up here because I was promised crayons, and I've seen not a one crayon, and I'm getting a little hungry, a little hangry.
Get a little hangry there, huh? Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, the first question I want to ask you is, what's your favorite color?
Purple.
Purple. Okay. Why purple?
I don't know. Purple tastes like grape.
What is grape? Wait, doesn't purple taste like purple?
No, it tastes like grape.
Okay, I'll take your
Grape
word
tastes
for
like
it. I'm
purple.
Army. I don't eat crayons.
Same, but different.
I eat sand. That's all I know.
That's fair.
Fair enough. So, Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a little brief summary into the world of Dave.
Just like the whole background.
A little bit.
Okay. I mean, like, I'm originally a South Texas boy. Grew up in Houston. As soon as I graduated, left for the Marine Corps. A few months after that, I got lucky enough. I got put with 1st Battalion, 5th Marines. That was in '07. I was with them from '07 to 2012. Did one of the invasions of Now in '09. Went back through Singin in 2011, which is one of the ways that I know Dino, because I think one of the Ranger regiments was down there in Singin, a little bit north of us around the same time. Happened to get back. Was living in LA for a few years. Obviously realized that was not my place to be. Came back to Texas, connected with Dino, and just kind of been running around with him, doing stuff with him and Danny and a few of the other cats that are in here since then.
Am I one of those cats?
You are one
Yeah,
of those.
yeah. Well, you've been helping us out kind of behind the scenes here at the Veterans Lounge today, and we couldn't appreciate that more, because it takes a lot of people to run something like this, a lot of people behind the scenes that you don't get to see much, and we really appreciate it. And us all, we're all grunts, right? You're a grunt, I'm a grunt, but there is grunt work that is associated with this. But from your perspective, what's the day been like as far as the Veterans Lounge?
It's been pretty solid. I didn't really know with everything that's been going on recently. And I was like, man, seemed like every day, like we had so much stuff planned, and then every day it was like constantly changing. It was just a constantly evolving, constantly rotating, like series of events. And luckily, like again, y'all are like the ones that have been really kind of owning it.
Well,
but y'all have taken what they've been giving y'all, and we've made it happen. Like we're still doing this right now. We still had a pretty great turnout, which is awesome to see everybody out here. It's awesome to be a part of it. It's been great to like help as much as I could.
Right, and what I like though is both veteran and citizen. At every change, at every turn, we had to pivot. We made it work. And because it was this constant mentality of improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Right.
Find a way to make it work. There's always a solution. Regardless of what the outside world wants to do or try to do, there's always a solution. And the importance of this event, which is not even an event anymore, it's a virtual event, but the importance of the message, the importance of what we're trying to get out there still has to happen, and the resolve that I've seen with the group that has put this thing together has been impressive, including yourself, and you have
It's been solid. Like it's always something like that. Like that's the biggest thing that'll show you somebody's like true characters when they're hit with like a wall they have to go over. It's like they're gonna
Right.
persevere. They're gonna have any type of resistance to that, or they seem to be like, oh well, they told us no, so we're not gonna do it
right.
anymore. And with everything that y'all were doing, that we were doing as a collective, it's just kind of just been like, okay, we're still pushing forward. I'm like, well, here's a wall. Y'all got to get around this now. It's like, that's cool. We'll climb over, figure something else out.
Right.
And y'all, we've just been hit back to back to back with
Right.
everything. And so, and here we are. We're still doing the thing.
Yeah, and it's been great. So moving forward, though, as far as where the Veterans Lounge goes from here, what would you like to see?
Hopefully, like once everything clears up, we get to do what we originally planned. I feel like we have the capability and the capacity and the manpower. We have enough people that are willing to like work themselves into the ground to make these things happen, and we could have huge events that would have such a huge outreach that would hit so many people like super close to home, or like even just tickle people's ear enough where they
Right.
would like start paying attention and
Right.
they would get it. And I feel like there's so much we could do
Right,
and without these like outside
influences, right? And I think that and I keep going back to bridging the gap and the divide between veteran and citizen, because it is I feel like one of the most important elements of what's been missing in our return and our transition home is trying and let's be honest, it's not, at the end of the day, it is not the responsibility of the citizen to understand us.
right.
It is our responsibility as the veteran to help them understand us. And that will never happen if we don't extend the hand.
Right. It's like at that point, it's not a communication issue. It's a comprehension
Right.
issue. It's like they don't understand, and it's your fault for not helping them
Exactly.
understand, and vice versa.
And we have to take ownership of that as veterans. It's on us. And I'm guilty of it as well. Like in my younger days, of returning home and transitioning, I was that guy that thought, when nobody understands me, and how shutting off and stepping aside.
Right.
And what really changed my mind was seeing citizens not giving up and trying to continue to make that difference, and that provided a new motivation. And I think that what it made me realize was that how many to get a little dark, how many veteran suicides could we have prevented had we actually conveyed that the importance of reaching out and helping the citizen understand.
Right.
We both lost probably one is too many, but we've lost a lot of people, right? And the Veterans Lounge is not just to address that; is to mitigate that. It's to start finding answers in the early phase. And the biggest gap is the citizen, and you've seen it with
Right. And
everyone
the whole
we've
point of
worked
that too is
with.
to bring everybody in, not just veterans.
Exactly.
For everyone.
Correct.
Like I've been lucky enough where I've had plenty of great friends I've had that were veterans, and I've been lucky enough where I have plenty of great friends that were never veterans. They were
Right.
civilian side.
Yep.
And just because I've been able to kind of create that circle of such a mix, I think that's probably been one of the things that's helped the most.
Right.
And I feel like unfortunately not everybody has that, and I'm fortunate enough to have that.
Right.
But if we can create a space with that where they're kind of bridging that gap,
Right.
and we can bring everybody together, then there shouldn't be as much of an issue.
Right. Well, and I think it will improve, but it is going to require us to take ownership of that, and to implore other veterans to take ownership of that.
Right.
And
we obviously we've got to control the reins for a little bit.
Right. Exactly. So, Dave, I appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Absolutely.
Always.
Thank you. All right. So, unfortunately, we have another Department of the Navy person. We seem to be stuck with the Department of the Navy, even though the Marines will never tell you that they're a Department of the Navy.
Yes. What is the joke that the Marines are the men's department? Right. All they ever do is take up space on our ships and eat all the food.
Well, you gotta feed a fighting force.
That's what they call them. Anyway, I have a bone to pick with you, sir.
Let's pick that bone.
You said that if someone was to bring in their command patch, they would get a discount.
Free
right?
beer.
Free beer?
Did you bring a command patch?
We don't have command patches.
Make one.
We have coins and we have it's like you're discriminating against the one force
I'm not.
that is drinking in its own.
Joe,
hemp.
where's Joe? Where's Joe here? Where's Joe?
No,
because Joe's wife maybe can
On
speak.
behalf of my sailors, I have to do something about this.
We have Stacy. Yes, Stacy. Bail me out. Stacy, bail me out.
Stacy, you're breaking my heart. The Navy doesn't have command patches unless you're a pilot. I'm just saying.
Oh,
we drink
brutal.
A lot. How about
Brutal.
coins? Coins?
You know what? You know what you do have? You do
What?
have rank.
We do have rank.
Rank
We
works.
have a lot of those. And rates. We have rate patches. I didn't have one, but, they're great. Da, 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 da. Sweet. Card something. Come in, drink. Yes. Please, my hometown of Austin, please come out and drink. This stuff is good. If you can't tell, I might have had one or two.
Well,
Good times.
I want to hear two things, right? Well, first off,
Two things.
let's
What?
provide some context, right?
Yes.
So, you came to Austin from LA
True.
with the primary purpose of really trying to showcase an amazing software that you've created and are trying to launch. And you're here in Austin, Texas with no South by.
True. So when they canceled South by, I wasn't trying to launch a software. I was launching a software. We still launch, just not
Excellent.
at South by Southwest. I'm a UT graduate, and I love Austin. It was a great chance to come back and see my friends, and Get veteran discounts because they don't have a lot of those in California. And when I was planning this trip, I made sure that I was going to be available for this Tuesday because I really wanted to come out and support, because it's great to see a veteran media organization in my favorite city, which has never happened before. They didn't even have entrepreneurship or really much of a film business program, because I actually went to the business school. So I was coming out here to do that, and I did one kind of women's event, and I had a bunch of panels set up, and then an event, and South by fell through.
And here we are.
And here we are. So I could have canceled, but I came out to support. I could have flown home early. I am flying home tonight back to LA, and I'm hoping I have a couple of hours before I'm in lockdown.
Confined or quarantine or
Quarantined,
whatever they're calling it
confined.
now, right?
Yeah. in the
Well,
brig.
let's talk about this program, right? And the past few guys we've talked to were focused a lot, in the entrepreneurship and in various different fields, right? One thing that I directly relate to as a filmmaker is is production and the needs of production organization, right? And this applies both in the military sense and in the production sense, that preparation is everything.
Yes.
And you've created a software that addresses a lot of problems in preparation that have existed in the industry.
Correct. I've been working in Hollywood at the time when I decided to do this at 8 years. I was producing one of the producers on a TV show in Japan before I moved to LA. So I've been in TV, I've been in film, I've worked on $100 million movies, I've worked on student short films, I've been in front and behind the camera. And it's a headache. All the stuff was a headache because, believe it or not, we still even use carbon copy contracts when you get on set. At major, like HBO shows, still carbon copy contracts when you show up on set to do your payroll. There's no collaboration software. Most of the planning is still done in pen, paper, and emails, some spreadsheets from time to time. And it's really a terrible quality of life for anybody who's in charge of that.
Right.
Because so much of it changes last minute. There's no, it's maybe in your Google Drive. And also, there's such a wealth of knowledge you have to know to be an effective producer. And it just takes a lot of time to get to that point. And a lot of people leave the industry because of the headache that comes with it, or people make drastic mistakes because of things they don't know. I have a friend who, I was so proud of him for jumping in to make his first feature film, but it took him a long time to get to the end, because once he'd edited it and filmed it and spent hundreds of thousands of his own money on this project, he didn't have releases at the end. So he had to go back and find all this paperwork he didn't know he needed. And that happens all the time. Or messing up on insurance, or somebody quitting on you at the last minute and being able to fix all this. So when I left AMC Networks to start my own production company, I had money set aside to do my first pilot. And the choice was, do I keep doing things the same way and hope somebody buys my pilot and try to go down this road, or do I create something that's going to make a better quality of life for me as I do this for the rest of my life?
Right.
Because once you're in the entertainment industry and you're in for life.
Right.
And it was a choice. Do I want to do this forever, or do I want to change the way we do things, even if I and my friends are the only ones that use it?
Right.
So it took about 2.5 years of finding the right team, which is a huge difficulty in the tech world and your entrepreneurial
Any
world.
world.
Yeah, to find someone you can trust, rely on. I went
Right.
through 2 different sets of co-founders, had to take them to court, get the money back, whole nine. We rebranded a couple times. But at the moment, what the software does when we launched it is, by the way, it's called Clio Studio, K-L-I-O, Studio, I-O, so I-O and I-O, cliostudio.com. And what it does is, right now you upload a script. We're mainly for narrative, because that's what I come from. Narrative is fictional storytelling, so not reality TV along those lines, or documentaries. So you take you upload the script, you click a button, it breaks it down into a strip board for you instantly. That usually takes people several days, if not a week, if they're sticking to it to build a strip board.
And that's a full-time job.
Is a full-time job. Like that. You then click each of the strips, it opens up into breakdown sheets. So what breakdown sheets are: interior, exterior, what characters are there, scene description, are there props, what do you need? That's the very first step in going from this is my script and my idea to this is what it's actually going to look like.
Right.
And that's how you start with that process. And then once you've organized the whole thing, you click another button, it pulls it over to a shooting schedule for you, which that's a whole nother beast. So everybody can be on the same calendar, if you will, of, okay, shoot day 1 is going to actually be on March 23rd.
So what you've taken, what you've done is you've pretty much taken, because as we've talked about, in the past, in my first feature film, I was pretty much doing everything on the production side. Production manager, line producer, all of everything, right?
Yeah.
And there are so many programs out there that you can utilize, but each one of those programs is missing something. It's missing an element that you need. And oftentimes it's in the post-production side that you're missing a lot of those things. And because those programs are mostly focused on pre-production and production, and what I feel a lot of them miss out on is the importance of the creation of your budget in the beginning has to have post-production in mind, right?
Yes.
So what you've done is you've taken those 3 elements of pre, principal, and post, and finally combined them into one place that it all communicates, it all talks to one another to make it easier on a filmmaker so they can actually do it. But what's more interesting, what I like, is that you didn't just craft something that big studio systems can use. You've done something that the independent filmmaker can also utilize.
Right. Because an independent filmmaker, fingers crossed, ends up being a big studio person.
Right.
So if we're teaching them one direction on how to do it,
Right.
not the band, this is how you do it, and we're
Please,
teaching them
thank
to
God.
make better projects, and then they can move up. It's a barrier, it's to break down some of the barrier of entry.
Right.
So if you're making good projects exactly the way Hollywood's expecting you to do it,
Right.
then the chances of them hiring you is much better. So if you're a rich kid who's the son of a famous person, and the famous person puts you in contact with the producer who's just going to make everything happen for you,
Right.
then all of that is not a learning curve they have to do.
Right.
So the other thing is when I was in Hollywood, or when I'm in Hollywood, I ended up working in development, post-production, production, big, little, everything, because I was trying to find what the secret was to make the big movies and get into Hollywood.
Right.
Because I was like, it has to be something that I'm missing. It has to be this magical secret that everybody's keeping from us, because the PGA is so small, the Producers Guild is so small, there's so few people who get to play in this arena. What's the secret? And there really isn't one.
Right.
It's just a whole lot of things you got to know, and people you got to know.
Well, it does come down to process, a lot of times, right? And if you're able to take that process and own it, then I think it makes things a lot better,
Yeah.
So with your experience here at Veterans Lounge, you got to be on one of the entertainment panel as well, which was a lot of fun. But also you got to meet a few other people here in diverse capacities. What has that experience been like for you?
With the entertainment people, or
No,
just
just in general, with the
in
Veterans
general?
Lounge in general.
Meeting the Veterans Lounge in general, it's always nice, because I'm part of a veterans group there. I've gone through a veterans group in LA, and I've gone through a veterans writing group in LA as well. But it's being around citizens and civilians is tiring, because you have to put, especially as a woman, I have to put on an act of sorts. Like, I can't be cussing every other fucking word. I can't tell somebody to suck my dick. Like, you just gotta, like, pull some of that back. So
You
I don't
can.
offend
I mean,
them.
you can say those things, but
Once they get to know me a little bit, because when people see me, they don't go, "Oh yeah, that definitely a veteran. That one's definitely a veteran." No, and still, it's just as soon as I
Right.
start talking and drinking, then yes, they can tell. But you get to relax just a little bit. I mean, I still have to mention, like, oh yeah, I was an officer. Oh yeah, I was in for a while. Like, I did hold my own. I did do some cool stuff. I was in some pretty stressful positions. Take that however you want. And stressful.
I'll
stressful.
leave the viewers to take that how they want.
See, I've been drinking. See, I can say those things to you guys, and it's all right.
And it's okay.
And it's
Safe place.
And it's my sense of humor is
Right.
also my call sign. And it's like,
Right.
my media company is actually Yellow Light Media because I had this kind of crass sense of humor even for the military. So
Right.
for me to have to be around non-civilians, it's just,
nice.
is nice.
Right, right.
It's always nice. Even if, and to hear about veterans starting their own companies and starting their own media companies and doing good in the world and finding their new life,
Right.
like finding their new identity and
Right.
coming to terms with what they did. It's just great to hear those things because then you don't feel like you're alone.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
and that's what we want to replicate. Whether it's working with VME in the future, whether it's working with other, we don't want to isolate what we're doing. We want it to spread. We want it to be open
Yeah.
to everyone. So one
And
more.
isolation is what ends up
It
getting
causes
rid of us.
problems. Exactly.
Yeah.
So one more time, your website.
My website is cliostudio.com, and if you're curious, our main competitor is about $100 a month. We are $11.99 a month. It is very reasonable. I'm making it this way because I want people to
for
make
everyone.
projects. Yeah, I'll
And-
charge the big studios the big amounts, but
Right.
the
And
new
from
guys
what
wanna
I've
do-
seen,
Yeah.
it's better than what those competitors are going to charge. So, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it.
And by the way, the beer is very good.
Beer's amazing. So I want to do something a little unorthodox. I know I said 4 people, but I am going to actually do something here in a second. I am going to ask if he's able to. I'm going to ask Jacob to come out from behind the booth and come sit in the podcast, behind the podcast mic. There you go. He's always camera ready. You kidding me? Look at that face.
Okay.
Face for a podcaster.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that we were able to do this together because I already feel that the impact of what we've been able to accomplish here is going to resonate nationwide and lead to bigger and better things.
Absolutely. I mean, just this pivot in general has been an amazing. Working with your team has been an amazing process. That's what Platinum is here to do, is to pivot, and I think it kind of goes hand in hand with the movement that you're doing here with this Veterans Lounge. It's like pivot to help people recover.
Right.
Coming up with the solution you talked a lot about in the last session is there's always a solution.
Right.
And that's very much in line with our philosophy as well.
Right, and in my experience working with you guys, from even I mean, what was it, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when we first made contact, and South by was still, everything was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And every step of the way, you and your team at Platinum have been flexible. You've been way more than reasonable on everything, and really, you were not afraid of the situation.
No, I mean, I see the value in the partnership. We at Platinum don't look at everybody as clients. We look at as the vendor-client relationship is just not enough. And once we started talking on the phone, I knew that this was a long-term partnership.
Right.
I come from a military family. I have not served myself, but I come from Air Force family, National Guard family. So I grew up with grandparents and family members that were in. It's an important cause to me, and mental health in general is a very important cause to me. So anything that we can do to help collaborate and shed some light on getting back to civilian life is hugely important to us.
Right, and I also want to, a lot of people that are familiar with the veteran space know that there's an element of resolve to what we do, right? But to me, it resonates more when I see citizens have that same resolve, when they don't back down, when they're not afraid of the world around them, they see things for what they really are. and that means a lot. And I can tell you that, without you guys, this event would not be what it is. And, I'm incredibly grateful. And I know that my team is as well. And I absolutely want to plug you guys right now.
Appreciate that.
So please tell us a little bit about Platinum.
Yeah, so Platinum TDM is about 5 years old. There are 4 owners, my wife, myself, Evan McCullen, and Brian Biller, who's running audio right now for us. Brian and I met on tour doing cheerleading and magic of all things, and saw production companies really not taking care of the little guy, right? If you weren't getting $1 million, they just weren't interested in doing business with you.
Right.
And that's just not our philosophy. We want to help the little guy as much as possible and partner and grow, because as they grow, we grow. So we got together, we founded Platinum TDM, and Evan McCullen, my business partner, and he's been a childhood friend. He went to school with my brothers. So he's known me since I was in diapers. He was like, I love the idea. I love what you stand for. I would love to put some money towards that. So it kicked off, and we started with some really, really big clients early out the gate because of wonderful producers that I had worked with early in my career. So we had this interesting blend of working with nonprofits and working with Fortune 100 companies. So we gave the same level of care and quality service across the board, and it really resonated with all of our partners. And especially in Columbus, Ohio, the market is so saturated with AV companies. Some of the largest really in the country are located in Columbus, Ohio.
Interesting.
Yeah, the live techs of the nation.
Right.
And they're great, but we don't really compete with them because we're working on a much smaller scale, but we're making more of an impact, I think.
Right. Well, no, I agree with you, and I got to tell you, based on what we've all seen here, there's nothing small about what you do. Like, I mean, it's
we're
on the level.
I mean small in the sense that we can adapt quickly, right? Being that there's 4 owners and we have about 40 contractors, it's just about being able to meet our partners' needs and being able to pivot quickly on things like pandemics or outbreaks,
Worldwide pandemics, right?
Closures. Driving down here from Columbus, Ohio, to support you guys was because I saw a long-term partnership and
Right.
working together because
Right.
just like I said from phone call 1, I was like, I like these guys. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
going to be
yeah.
a lot of fun. And I have to give a shout out to Tim Wolf-Starr, who made all this possible.
Absolutely.
Him, Experience Columbus, Point, Mylo, Watershed, North Side Brewery. The list goes on and on. I'm sorry if I forgot anyone.
So, Watershed. Let's talk about Watershed for a second.
Yeah, let's talk about Watershed.
Holy shit. That is a good drink.
Yeah, they're pre-made in the bottle, old-fashioned. I hear it's great. I don't drink, but
Trust me, it's great.
I've heard it's delicious. And yeah, we brought a couple bottles to show some love for the veterans here. So
And it's appreciated.
yeah.
All the way down.
This has just been such a cool experience, and I'll tell a little bit of a story about the day one, right? Tim Wolf invited me to a meeting, and I was in the room with 30 of the most powerful CEOs in Columbus in jeans going, what am I doing here? I thought this was a one-on-one meeting. And he's like, tell the group what you do or what you're doing for the show. I'm like, I think I'm the technical director for all of this.
I hope I'm the
I
technical
hope that I am.
At the end of
And,
this.
people that I've been trying to have conversations with in the city of Columbus, he opened the doors for me on that. So, and all this is possible. And I would say, I'm going to throw out a little teaser here, that perhaps this may happen in Columbus in the near future.
Weird.
Weird.
Who knows?
Yeah, so thinking about hashtag Rally Columbus.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of veteran support in Columbus, Ohio.
I would agree with that.
We're-
Absolutely.
We're looking forward to having you up in our neck of the woods.
Jacob, thank you very much. Thanks everyone from Platinum as well.
Thank you for having us. It's been a great experience.
Awesome. And guys, that's going to be a wrap for this section.